Alright, so last week we talked about a pretty depressing series of mashed up, barely related theories. So this week I want to talk about something that's a little more technical, a little more lore-based, and not quite as sad to think about, frankly. This is going to be another theory which, like last week I mentioned, I've seen bouncing around online already. This is just going to be my take on the theory, specifically. But specifically this week, we're going to be attempting to determine what could have split Homeworld in half. Now, I think maybe the most obvious answer to that question is that it was overzealous kindergartning. We did technically see something similar to the damage to Homeworld back in Steven Universe of the movie, i.e. when the giant injector that Spinel brought with her was turned up to 11, it caused the ground to split and crack. It's possible that some similar form of large-scale injector use is responsible for the damage to Homeworld, that the planet was already frail from having been mostly hollowed out, and when they made one last push to try to make use of what resources remained on a large scale, they ended up doing massive damage to the planet, causing it to split in half. It's a bit of a stretch. We haven't really seen an injector do that much damage before, but I definitely think that within the lore of this show, within the context of this show, that is a thing that's possible. And if it's the case, it would be an interesting way of them conveying the fact that over-mining resources is dangerous. Though at the same time, they've made that argument pretty clear elsewhere in the show. I don't really feel like there would be any logical need for them to make that point again here. Which is why I think that the actual source of Homeworld's damage is far more interesting. And like a lot of other people online, I think that the source of that damage might have been Pink Diamond herself. I know that seems strange because even though the diamonds are powerful, again, just like the injectors, we've never seen a diamond output that much power before. It's not a thing that's been established in the show, but something that has been established in the show is the fact that Pink Diamond cracks things. And I know putting it that way sounds really strange. It oversimplifies the kind of damage that we've seen Pink Diamond do in the show so far. But it's true. Pink Diamond cracks things. It's a thing that happens. Or I guess used to happen, since Pink Diamond doesn't actually exist anymore. But, and yes, I understand that this is going to sound a little strange coming from the guy who insists on reminding his audience whenever possible that Steven is not Pink Diamond. I do think that we can take recent outbursts from Steven as further examples of Pink Diamond breaking things, since he's drawing upon the same power that she used to use to break things, and therefore when he cracks something, I think we can take that as an example of Pink Diamond cracking something as well. And frankly, every time we have seen a powerful outburst of emotions from Pink Diamond, something is cracked. The earliest example of this, chronologically, I think, being when she confronted Yellow Diamond, demanding her own colony. That would be what we saw in the Jungle Moon flashback. When she got fed up with Yellow Diamond telling her no, she turned around and she punched glass, causing it to crack. Then the next example, chronologically speaking, would be when she, at some undisclosed point in time, had another outburst, causing another outburst in power, which injured Volleyball. That being the injury which scarred Volleyball psychologically and led her to showing a crack in her eye in her physical form, regardless of whether her gem is damaged. So already we have two examples of cracks caused by Pink Diamond's outbursts of power. Then we have Pink Steven calling upon what I'm assuming is that same power when he cries out that Rose is gone, shattering the floor beneath him. And then just earlier this season, Steven called upon his pink power. He had an outburst, and he cracked the ground all around him, as well as the walls nearby and the ceiling above him. And a powerful wave of force that's going to break things in the area, but it's specifically the cracks that I find interesting because the show seems to be establishing a motif. It's just like how when you see something pink in the show nowadays, your mind tends to jump to that thing being in some way related to Pink Diamond, aka Rose Quartz, because for so long, stuff in the show that was pink was related back to Rose in some way or another. That's a motif. And yes, I know they've been trying to subvert that lately. Like, I think the existence of, what did her name turn out to be? Cherry Quartz, I think. I think the existence of her in the trailer for Steven Universe Future that dropped before the show did was an attempt to subvert that by subverting expectations and making her someone who didn't have anything specifically to do with Rose at all. But for the most part, the motif holds up. If something is pink, more often than not, it has something to do with Rose. Lion had something to do with Rose. The Sword had something to do with Rose. Even Spinel, even though theorists prior to the leak of Spinel's name were pretty consistently wrong about what gem specifically she was, the fact that she was pink led theorists to believe that she had something to do with Pink Diamond's past. And we were right, because she's pink and pink things have to do with Rose. So if the show is trying to establish a motif that Pink Diamond's outbursts cause things to crack, wouldn't it make sense that the most mysteriously and inexplicably cracked thing in the show, that being the entire gem homeworld, might also fit into that motif, that the establishment of that motif might have been specifically to prep us for the reveal, to foreshadow the reveal that Pink is the one who cracked Homeworld in half. Maybe she even cracked Homeworld in half as part of the same outburst where she harmed Volleyball. I know it seems like kind of a stretch, because again, we've never seen a diamond output that much power. But we also know that gem powers are tied to their emotions, and that Pink was really freaking emotional. And if she was able to do as much damage as we've seen her do before, when displaying the relatively little bits of emotion that we've seen her display in the past, just imagine how much damage she can do if she got really emotional and stayed that way for a while. And now I do think that there are some problems with this theory, some cracks in it, you might say. Like, we know that whatever outburst harmed Volleyball occurred before Pink was given her colony, and if that outburst, or any of her other outbursts, had caused the gem's literal homeworld to shatter into multiple pieces, I don't think she ever would have gotten a colony. I don't think that's a thing that would have happened. Unless the implication is supposed to be that White Diamond was so worried that a repeat of that would happen if Pink didn't get her way, that she capitulated. And I don't see White as being the kind of person who would capitulate to Pink, even in a situation so dire. I guess what it comes down to is, if they still plan to reveal in the show what it was that caused Homeworld to break, they're going to reveal that it was Pink Diamond that caused it. But if they don't plan to reveal what it was which caused Homeworld to break, I think we're just going to be left to assume that it was overmining. So it really comes down to where specifically they plan on taking the lore of Steven Universe Future related to Homeworld. And man, if they end up revealing that it was an outburst from Pink which shattered the entire planet, that could go a long way towards upping the angst factor for Steven, which would certainly compound the stuff he's been feeling already and perhaps catapult him further down whatever path he's currently traveling, bringing us to the climax of the show all the much sooner. So I definitely do still think that this is possible. I think it's a thing that might turn out to be the case, but I think it's just as likely a thing that didn't happen. It's interesting and possible, but I don't think it's necessarily likely, if that makes sense. But as per usual, guys, I'd like to know, what did you think of any of the ideas that I put forth in this theory? How likely do you think it is that it was Pink Diamond, or an outburst from Pink Diamond, which caused the damage that we've seen to Homeworld? If you don't like either of the ideas for what happened to Homeworld that I presented in this video, then what do you think happened? I'm actually really curious to know. Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below or over on my Discord, link in the description. But either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.